Hi everyone, welcome to MetalNet TV. My name is Sarah, and today we are talking to Kane Roberts about Chokehold. But before we do, please remember to subscribe to MetalNet TV and make sure you click on that little notification bell so that you will be alerted to every new episode of MetalNet TV Conversations and Metal Bites. Here we go. Hey Kane, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. I'm just happy to be here to do an interview with you again. Last
Yay!
one was fun. Yeah.
Always have such a good time with you.
Yeah.
So I want to jump right in. I can just tell from having talked to you as of late and just now, you are so pumped for Chokehold. And tell me a little bit about that. Tell me about what you're feeling about this project that you just launched.
Well, it started with the premise that no record company involved. That was the first notion, and the reason is that everybody involved with it, for the most part, the sort of core of the band was just what's the point? I just realized I'm not interested because for the most part, and not everybody, but for the most part, the people that run that side of the industry are just sort of greedy, gluttonous, stumbling, morons that all they want to do is make money, and they don't treat the musicians as partners. They're
Mhm.
almost like a necessary inconvenience. That's the feeling you get. And the people that make a lot of money from this, believe me, someone's getting a crap ton more before it ever gets to them. So I just thought, that's okay for some people. They keep signing shit like that. I just went, boring, not going to do it. So with that sort of thought in mind, we just started writing and recording, and it took maybe a year and a half for us to come out with a one song. I mean, right now we have about an album done, but we
Mhm.
got one song, "Don't Wanna Rockstar," done, and it's got a video that's created in AI. And the reason I'm bringing that up is the culture is changing because of advancements in technology. It always has a massive influence. And when something like AI comes along, it pushes the envelope in every regard. And the music industry is not going to do that. They're just going to find a way to monetize it, to make it so that you can't do it without paying them. And I just went, fuck that. It's okay. Do what you got to do. I'm just not involved with it. And
Mhm.
so we made a video that's just software. It's not just AI. It's After Effects, Photoshop, all these programs to edit and put it together. But we put together a kind of a radical video about these female androids that were made for domestic purposes. Very docile, and a virus gets into the neural matrix. I love using
Okay,
Star Trek, Star Trek stuff like
there you
that,
go.
and they become voracious, hungry biotech vampires. And there's the army and the soldiers try to fight them. What they do is they go into cities and just clean it out, of all humanity. So it's pretty crazy. So we just got into making it, and now we put our first video out. It's on YouTube, it's on X, it's on all of these things. But we're not into the system of like dropping 10 grand on YouTube to get numbers right off the bat and shit like that. It's just a game that just seems really counterproductive, especially to the way we feel about everything. Because
Mhm.
you'll notice as the songs come out, it's about freedom, like everything, in terms of we'll say whatever we want to say in the song.
All right, very cool. So I
Yeah.
have so many questions about, the process, the creative notions that went behind it. But let's start with the music. You use the word we, and I'm wondering, is Chokehold a band or is this a Kane Roberts project where you pull in artists and musicians that you
It,
wanted to work with?
it's a project of musicians. That's what it is. It's not a band. We have no interest in playing live, at least not at this stage.
Mhm.
So, but we'll do videos, and it's gonna the basic reason and the basic source of it is to get the song and the music out there as best as we can. We're not
Mhm.
gonna, we've been notified by a record company, and we didn't say it in an abrasive way, and I'm not talking about like some major crazy label, just somebody was interested, and we said, we're just not going to go that route this time. It just doesn't. Think of it as in your own life. If you're going to do something, you're going to get a job, and just all the cards are against you making enough money, to pull in enough equity so that you can live properly or do whatever, or feel that you're being appreciated for the job you're doing. If it's completely antithetical to that, then there's no reason to do it. So that sort of a thing made, we bound us together. We bonded on that. So we love heavy metal. We love extreme notions of heavy metal and melody as well. Like, my experience through all the stuff with Alice Cooper and my own records, everything comes into play along with their experience, which is radically different from mine. And we're just going to put out music for now. There's nobody wants to emerge as some star that they're going to do this or that. We're just making music and videos.
Now, are the musicians that you're working with? I know that Ken Mary is one of the
Ken
folks
Mary
that you're
plays
working with.
drums on this song. The ending is killer. Like he really kills it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a, he's a legend like yourself.
Yeah.
Are all of
Like,
the musicians?
I just accept it. Yes, thank you.
It's
Yeah,
true, okay?
yeah, yeah.
Whether you accept it or not. But is it other musicians, like, for example, in the past when we've talked, you've mentioned that you wanted to work with Kip Winger and Ken Mary and stuff. Did Kip Winger make it onto this project so far, or?
No, Kip's like really. Kip's one of my. I send him songs all the time. What do you think of this? This one sucks. This is one whatever. The chokehold stuff, he's really responded well to. He really loves it. It's like everybody. I have to go through my gang. So Ezrin, Bob. I don't know if you know who Bob Ezrin is, but I'm not talking about you. I know you do, but people
Right.
listening. Major producer, Kiss, Alice Cooper's biggest records or whatever. And he was always very critical of me. And for the first time, with this music, it sort of busted through all that. So in terms of like, my, let's say, my old compadres through the music of the people that I know, and it could be the newer guy too, like the newer guys as well. Like I've been playing it for Tommy Hendrickson and getting his opinion and all that stuff. And the point is that their involvement is very limited.
Mhm.
And I said, Ken, I said, dude, I need your playing on this song, and he did, and he knocked it out of the park. The other people are just over time, I began to see how insanely talented they are. The singer, just an amazing voice, and I don't know if you agree with me, but
No, I absolutely do. And her name is Anja. Am I
Anya,
pronouncing it correct? Anya?
yeah, but it's
Anya.
spelled with a J. It's what they
Okay.
did with her
So
own
it's
songs again.
it's Anya. How did you find Anya? And she does have an incredible voice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was one of those things where it was a friend of a friend. She hadn't really done much. She's a complete recluse. What was it? She's not on Instagram or any of that stuff. She doesn't,
Okay.
she has, her own life that she does and whatever. So we just started talking and we became friends. And then the recording started, incremental kind of casual things. And we just bonded as musicians, and you can just see that song that don't want to rock star, the one that's out now. You can see that came about 100 miles to get there, so it was pretty awesome. Yeah, she is awesome. She's like the main inspiration for me to write, and I'm writing stuff for her sensibilities at this point. Yeah, and then
Okay.
I have we have other songs where different people are singing, some where I'm singing,
Okay.
but it's not about anybody emerging. It's just that Anja can't help it.
Okay.
She's gonna come to the
So,
front.
and you've shared this with me off camera as well. So when you talk about Anya, this is somebody who clearly loves music. You guys bonded over it. She's got talented, like she's got power vocals. But does that mean that she's somebody that you would work with as a way to create this project, this music, this band, but that we won't necessarily be seeing her in interviews on social media, that kind of thing?
I right now it's not there because we don't really have a structure. In other
Okay.
words, the structure is the amount of hours that we're in
Right.
the studio. It's a
Mhm.
tremendous amount. And then, once I get all the recording, I go into editing mode, and whoever else can help me with that and stuff. So, and by the way, it's a lot of people helping. it,
Right.
if we all got on stage, it'd be like 20 people. You know what I mean? It wouldn't. So yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. I would like to see it evolve into. I remember when Steely Dan. There was a period with that band where basically they were studio band. That's all they did. They didn't really tour. And it always appealed to me. Not that I hate touring. Everybody knows how much I love touring with Alice, and the recent thing I did was a blast. But it just seemed great to be in sort of a creative enterprise where visuals are just as important as the rest of it. Ever since I was a kid, I've been drawing. I drew Marvel superheroes as a little kid, and then I went on to after the Alice Cooper thing, I went to a broadcast design company. We had a commercial in the Super Bowl. So I started learning all the tech and everything. And then here I am. And then this AI thing comes along. And if people want to see the video, they'll see what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
Because just from the opening shot, you realize how much it's going to change the entertainment business. Because the opening shot, you'll go, who was the set designer? Who's
Hmm.
doing pyro? Who are the extras? Who's doing the lighting? Who's doing it? You know what I mean? And nobody's doing it except these programs. So
Hmm.
it's gonna take down a lot of software companies that use software to animate things. You look at those Avengers movies, technologically just crazy. And if you factor AI into that, you almost don't have to do, let's say, 60% of the production. The production can, there'll be shots you have to take maybe in camera, but this is going to change the whole game. So everybody has to get ready for it. And the thing of it is that technology steps in and cuts the knees out of industries all the time. And I mentioned this
Hmm.
before, but the printing industry, a long time ago, you had to like come with a piece of paper, they set the type, and then they printed out your thing or whatever. And then Hewlett Packard comes out with a $200 home printer. The whole industry died. You had to go to the computers. You had to use computers and digital in order to print and survive. And that's what's happening now with this AI thing. Not the music so much, but the visuals is where I'm actually, and people are doing music with AI, and it's an interesting thing because AI is not an intelligence that makes, let's say, comes up with an idea and makes a decision on its own. It's actually a very deep pattern seeking search engine. So when you put in your prompts, whatever the words are, whatever you're asking it to do, it puts together what it thinks is something that already exists that blends together to serve whatever it is you're looking for.
Hmm.
So the interesting thing about AI is it X's out so much humanity in the process, and yet it survives because of what happened in the real world before. In other words, if you say, I want this to look like, a classical painting, well, Rembrandt was already there. So that's where it's going to go. You see what I mean? And over time, it'll gestate, I think, into a different form of music. I really think there'll be a new kind of heavy metal that they'll call it heavy metal, but it will be entirely AI generated, and it'll be seeking sources other than the ones that are sort of typical, looking at Led Zeppelin or whatever, because that's what it pulls from in visuals. There's one shot in my video where a vampire girl goes up to the window and she pukes blood. It's just like, and it's so Evil Dead. I mean, I just went, they must have seen that shot. So I just find it to be really exciting that way. And I'm saying all this like weird shit. The thing is, we're all thinking differently. We're thinking differently about the whole process. And if you think about everything I said, don't need the record company. Don't need it.
Well, I think over the span of your career, as a fan watching you, and as also as somebody who's had the opportunity to speak to you over the last few years,
Yeah.
I see, your start was, I would say, fairly conventional for what existed at that time, like in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
You were with the record company, you were with the big artist, he was having a comeback, which went really, really well for him.
Really well. Yeah. Geez, yeah.
And, I would imagine that the folks, the Bob Ezrins and all of that, are looking at you very kindly. But from those early days where I would assume that you guys got a lot of support because they were there's a give and take and everybody's getting what they want,
Yeah.
to as you've moved along through your career, where I'm not surprised that you're trying to do this, or not trying to do this, but you're doing this all on your own, just because the experiences that you've shared over the last few years with working
Yeah.
with other folks, where you're not necessarily getting anything from them, right? It's not like they're giving you a
No,
ton of money for
and by the
videos
way,
or,
yeah, they have their own business. Like I'm not against anybody doing business. And if whatever works for them, that's fine. Go do it. It's just that if it's something where what my role will be just diminished to the point where it's not profitable, it's just very difficult, it's dishonest, like the whole thing. I just went, that's it's not a business model I want to get immersed in anymore. It's just I'm over it, And look at some people succeed very well with it. People keep signing these crappy deals, and they fight their way through all the sort of obstacles that are placed in front of them in order for them to tour and do videos. I mean, back in the day, I remember Guns N' Roses' "Welcome to the Jungle" came out
Mhm.
and didn't do well. And they opened for Alice for a while. That's how I met the guys, like really the nicest guys, everybody, no matter what their reputations are. The record company waited 6 months and put it out again. That
Mhm.
would never happen today. That's just not the way it's looked at. You go to get a record deal. How many Facebook likes or friends do you have?
Right.
That's the way it is. So it's just the thing is just to me, like I think it's just an apple that's a little bit too rotten at this point. So yeah.
What about the other side though? Because in the past, you as like a musical director, as a guitarist, as a performer, could put all of your energy on the artistic side, and you're
Yeah.
still doing that now, but you probably didn't have to worry about, let's say, if you were touring for this project, you probably have people to support you in helping you put the tour together. If
Yeah.
you're when you're doing promotion, I'm sure that you guys had nice budgets and people who could push things out in a way that was useful at that time. What is it like now being, the head of this project, and knowing that kind of all of those things fall on your shoulders?
Yeah, it's the gratification of what we're creating
Mhm.
just supersedes everything. It makes it worthwhile. You think about it. How I hope I hadn't say this to you before, but the musicians started at an odd place. Like, what did we evolve from?
Mhm.
Well, I think in the beginning they were guys on the side of the road, minstrels with those little shoes that curl up on the bells, and they're playing a mandolin, and rich people go by in a wagon and they throw meat at them or something.
Mm.
The same. It hasn't changed. So I don't think I would have been been a minstrel. You know what I mean? I don't think I would have done that. I would have played at home, maybe. I think that's the thing
Right.
we should have done. Unless you
Yeah.
make meat, and then you got to do whatever you want.
So and I've talked to you so many times. I feel like you're the guy that you don't take pressure on. Like, you just decide what you're going to do and you do it. And, like when you go on stage, you're not worried about being nervous about playing for people. When
No,
you
no,
do a
never,
project, you just take it
never
on and
runs through
go
my
with it.
mind. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more nervous. Other instrument musicians will know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm much more nervous playing in front of one person than 40,000. It's just, and you know, a lot of the guys I know get kind of scared going in front of a big audience.
Mm.
I've just never had that thing. It just never struck me that way. So I think though there was one moment with Alice, our first show, the first major show. We did a few shows before it, but Joe Louis Arena, The Nightmare Returns, and I remember, I had just played at clubs, that was what I did as a kid, and then, some of these small venues. So suddenly we're at this arena and the band is behind the stage, just really nervous. Everybody's kind of wide-eyed and, talking falsetto, you know what I mean? And as soon as Alice said, "Welcome to my nightmare," he sang that. Welcome to, as soon as he did that, and we all walk up on stage, and as soon as Alice kicked that gate open and came out, nobody was nervous, and that was the last moment that I was, because there's a guy that you put him in front of any situation. I don't care what it is. We opened for the Misfits. It was like 40,000 people, and this is recently. And Alice at one point said, during Poison, said, raise your hand if you're poisoned. And the whole place did, like 40,000. So he still has that sort of command.
Yeah.
I was always jealous of that. It was really crazy.
Some people really do have that magic.
All right.
Kane, you said something that really surprised me.
Mhm.
And that is in talking about AI, because I was expecting you to say, because I know you have this background, you've worked on a lot of really cool projects. I was expecting you to say that this was a visual effects project and not use the word AI specifically. Most artists I know are really weary of AI because they're concerned that, let's say, they created some content, that content will be pulled in and used by somebody else without
Yeah,
it
that
being
happens
vetted.
anyway.
Yeah,
As soon as they heard a Led Zeppelin record, what did
yeah.
they influence? That's all it is. And
But
the
don't
other
you,
thing too is everybody's afraid of new technologies, and rightfully so, because it threatens to change their lifestyle in a negative way. And so if you are sitting there and you go, all right, so this new technology is coming in, and it could very well replace what I do.
okay,
What do? Do you learn it? I think that's what you do, or you just get victimized by it because it's unstoppable. AI is nothing special other than Google gone absolutely nuclear. That's what it is. And so it was bound to happen. If you think about it, it makes sense. If you look into it, it all makes sense. And the thing that everybody is very, very attuned to. I mean, I remember when these internet, like they had these modems and then they got bigger and better and, they weren't making all those crazy noises and it take like 3 minutes to log on. Everybody was looking for speed. They liked that with their hard drives. You drag something over, boom, it goes right over. This is, you can write a legal contract that it hits pretty much all the marks for some purchase of some property or whatever, and it comes back in less than a minute. So you can't fight that. You can rankle against it, but you're going to lose. So I'm just saying, people are afraid. I did a film project when I was at this broadcast design company for film schools, and it basically said that everything that happens visually has happened before, whether it's a painting, whether it's some hieroglyph, maybe a carving on a wall. Everything that you see visual, photography, commercials, movies, there's almost you can find the source for where it might have evolved from because it happened before. And that's what AI is. It basically looks on what happened before. But like I said, any musician that said, "Oh, my favorite band, my favorite guitar player is Jimmy Page or Eddie Van Halen or whoever," yeah, they're grabbing stuff from him. I'll never forget. It was a uh, rock and roll fantasy camp, and Gene Simmons was there. And I remember, I wrote that song "Take It Off" with him and Paul. And I had just seen the video. I don't know if you've seen the video, uncensored, "Take It Off." You should take a look at it. It's insane. Okay. And I was just really honored. There was a giant production for that song, and Bruce Kulick's killing it, and Eric Singer, everybody. And I walked in to the room. There's a big, big room where everybody's there, all the campers, and all the things that they do. And Gene went, into the microphone. It's really funny. But he basically told the campers, he said, "You want to write a hit song?" He said, "Rip off other artists." And he's not saying, do it in a way that, you're going to get sued. But he
Mhm.
goes, listen to a riff. And he played some riff from, let's say Smoke on the Water. And he changed it a little bit. And he goes, that's how we write. We listen to great things that happened before us or things that we love and we get influenced and we change it a little bit and we're ripping it off. He said, but that's what the process is. That's how these ideas evolve.
So I see you as taking this in a very practical approach. Like it exists, it's here, and like let's just embrace it and use it as artists. But was there ever a moment like when you first were introduced to AI as AI where you had a little bit of hesitation, or did you just really grab the reins and say, no,
No,
I'm
I
gonna
didn't have a
apply this?
moment of that, but what I do have, and it's still there, is a feel. If you go on the threads or
Mhm.
sometimes these guys will do seminars. Guys that write these programs, Mid Journey and Mystic and all these programs, they'll say they really don't know how it works. You know what I mean? They take the coding up to a certain point, but
Mhm.
then he said they all say stuff happens that we don't know how it's happening.
Okay.
So that to me is, there's an odd feeling to it because I will be searching for hours for one section, a B section that I like. I'm just constantly changing what are called prompts. You type in, I want this, I want that, I want this, or the lyrics. You keep changing them, and suddenly something great comes back.
Okay.
So you want to know, is this just a great writing partner,
Mhm.
or really, it's a little bit of an uneasy feeling. But
Mhm.
the point of it is that I'll accept all of that, because if people listen to this song, they may not like it. They watch the video, they may not like it, but they'll see that the visuals are truly kick ass. There's no way that I could have done a thing with so much violence and blood and vampires and have it look that convincing. It does look pretty convincing. I know people that can't watch it, so pretty funny.
Fair enough. And then you said you've always been drawing. Now, were you, because you do have this background, right, where you did create stuff without the use of AI, I assume.
Oh yeah, oh
Did
yeah.
you draw these characters and then like kind of feed them in and get them back like
It's
enhanced as
interesting. All right, that's called the pipeline, and that's a big thing in AI. For example, a friend of mine, I'm not going to mention any names. I can't mention the company. It's a big company, and they hired my friend to do I think it was a 20-second commercial for 20 grand. And so, and by the way, that's somebody at his house. You know what I mean? He's not at a studio. So you're
right.
seeing how the whole enterprise and the whole, pipeline is changing. But the pipeline is, what's the first thing you do? Where do you take it from there once you're satisfied? What are the steps? And then how do you get to delivery? And
Mhm.
so I would go into a program like Mystic,
Mhm.
which you write in a long paragraph, and then images come back, and then you can influence it with other images, or you can change the lighting. There's so many parameters that you can change. So it's not like, give me a cool shot and it comes back. It doesn't work like
Right.
that.
Right.
But once you get something, then you can use that as a seed to influence the rest of the stuff that happens. So
Yeah.
you'll notice the girls look like they're dressed similarly. They all
Mhm.
have the same style wings. They're everything's different, but you can see it's the same universe. And that's one of the parts of the pipeline. You get the image you want, then you get a setting with it, you get an environment and an animation, and then it gets consistent through that. So
Okay.
yeah, that's what it is. I didn't draw them. I used these programs to get something that I believed was good. Now, for example, one of the things that's really funny, because if you're doing lyrics, and you're trying to write something, I went into AI just to do lyrics once, and it kept wanting to write the lyrics for me. So I said, I don't want to do that. And then I've seen some programs, they'll tell you they can play the guitar solo. I'm not doing those
Right.
guitars. You know
Right.
what I mean? That's my territory. So I think you just have to think of it. How useful is it? Useful is it to you, and what kind of balance that you're comfortable with, so you don't
Mhm.
feel like you're doing anything kind of illicit or lame or whatever. I mean, people will look at my video and go, well, this is AI, and it fucking tore your head off, though, didn't it? So
Right.
yeah,
So, for the artistic integrity, did you kind of go in before you started this project with this idea of like, of course, I'm a musician, I'm a songwriter, I'm not going to have it do X, Y, and Z, but I'm
yeah,
going to give it my editorial feedback and let it help me find what I want to create? Or
with the visuals, yeah, yeah.
did those feelings of sort of artistic integrity, did you figure that out along while you were in the process of doing
Yeah,
it?
it was a shock. You know what I mean? The AI is shocking. In
Mhm.
your first run in with it, and I'm not talking about the silly Instagram little things. Like make yourself a clown or something. I'm not doing
Yeah.
that. I do that on my own. No, no.
In your free
But no,
time.
no.
Did you create like the set design separate from the character design and then the action afterwards, or did you work, were they all created in tandem?
Some That's an interesting question. Some of them I created the environment first,
Mhm.
and then I'd place people on it and have them doing certain things. You'll see some where it's a city,
Mhm.
and it was just a city, but it was. I would maybe make it a dystopian city. It had been through something, and then I added people, soldiers, and then I added explosions. So it's almost like you're in After Effects, dragging things in and dragging them out and stuff like that.
And like
But
creating layers
what's that?
and like creating layers of,
Creating layers. But
yeah.
one of the great things about this is that if you create an important aspect of your coding to be cinematic, that's what you're looking for. You
Mhm.
start seeing it changes. Like a lot of action films, yeah, I don't know if you notice it or not, but there's almost like a very light bluish green tone over it, and there's a specific name for that. And so you type that into the type of cinematic look that you want to give it, and it could be completely wrong. It looks silly. It has nothing to do with the rest of the video. And then you finally find something, and like I said, that begins to seed. Sometimes it seeds or it influences the program. So the
Okay.
program starts doing things that it kind of assumes that you want it to do, and that improves over time. And there's a lot of these online programs. I don't know if I'm talking too much about this. There's a lot of online programs, but there are also some that you download onto your box, and
Mhm.
those, much deeper. You gotta be kind of a brainiac to do that stuff, which I'm not, but I'm fighting my way through it because it's going to raise the bar for our next video.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um, I assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you wrote the songs that you wanted first,
yeah,
and then you went in and did the character design, the background,
absolutely.
and
The
all of
song
that.
was complete. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and this was interesting because the girl does what she can to seduce whoever she's singing to, but by the end, you think you better give her what she wants. You know what I mean? And so that's where the the vampires came in. You
Okay.
know, that's where they came in because I started thinking like these girls are almost seductive. They're covered in blood. They got giant hacksaws and knives, but pretty hot. Underneath all that. So I was doing that because that sort of contrast. I thought played well because there's even a character that actually looks a lot like Kip Winger that one of them kisses, and then we go back to it, and now all of his skin is gone, and there's blood everywhere. And then the next one, he's just a skeleton, and she's laughing. So I was able to create that sort of timeline, and you can see that's where the difficulty is to tell allegory with these programs because they can be very chaotic and random. So
Okay.
you have to fight that at the same time. Yeah.
Okay. So
I
you
I,
really
I
have
don't
to.
want. Am I talking too much about AI? I
No,
shouldn't.
no, it's all good. Because I wanted to understand where this came from because it is
Yeah.
different from you. Because last time we had this, this really cool video with you and Alice and Elisa, but
Oh yeah. Geez.
right, you're in it, but there was some cool effects, but it's like you had to film the video in person. You had to get
I have to
everybody there,
film it, and then
there's acting and all of that. And
check
so,
this out. We go to the studio.
mhm,
There's no lights.
okay,
Something went wrong, so we had to shoot it with no lights. Now think of that.
yeah.
Any film project, if you don't have lights, so the tremendous post had to be done to it in order to make it look better. That and so I wish I had this program then because we would have been it'd be an apocalyptic film. You know what I mean? So I should probably
Get you.
do that. I should just get the footage back because I have everybody alpha channeled and just redo that video. I think
Oh,
I
I
could
was just
do
gonna
that.
ask you
Just gave
that.
me an idea.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. Um, okay, so here's the thing that I'm still like really excited about and curious about. So we have this one video, right? We know it's like this aggressive, heavy, like cool female vocals, let's like insane background and all this crazy stuff going on. Is this part of a story? Is this the first chapter of a story that's going to come to us through these videos? Or did you write songs that you just were really passionate about and each of them gets their own video? Or is it something else altogether?
Yeah, there are two songs that I have. One of them is called Control, and the other one's called Lose to Win. And those are songs that have from the same universe.
Mhm.
These upgraded dudes. They're like a gang, and they look, they're all inked up and fucked up, part biotech, and very violent gang. And by the end of the film, the end of the video, they meet up with some of the girls from the first video. So so I'm connecting the same world with that kind of a thing. It's a dystopian view of things, which everybody loves doing.
Mhm.
But in this particular one, there'll be actually like a love story in the midst of all the blood. So and by the way, we're going to make it. The thing about the vampires is that's what they do. It's blood. That's their thing. So this won't be as bloody, but it'll be violent because I really think a lot of the lyrics that I've been writing, I'm not promoting violence, but it's cathartic in a way to have be frustrated about something and then see somebody punch a hole in a wall. You know what I mean? You just watch it. You don't do it. You see it on a video or something. So, I'm trying to connect this sort of emotional timeline with the images a little bit more deeply on this next one, and I'm trying to raise the bar in terms of how it looks. So different software. Yeah.
Okay. So these three will create overall a story with a narrative beginning, middle.
Yeah, there's a song with Anja singing called "If I Were You," and we might just do a video. We're gonna see,
Like a video, like a traditional video with her?
like a realistic, yeah,
Okay.
like a real. I don't know how realistic it'll be, but there'll be some performance in it. So, yeah.
Would you add special effects so that there's a visual
Yeah, it'll be a
component?
blend, but the shots of Anya will be, real. She's not going to be like hanging from an airplane or anything. We just want to make it like you get to know her a little bit.
Okay.
She's not that crazy about that, by the
I
way.
was gonna say, is she ready for this? Like, is she?
She
It
doesn't
sounds like
really,
she's not into
she,
that.
she said, "Look, there's no situation where it would happen, but the last thing I want to do is open for Taylor Swift." And I said, yeah, don't worry about that.
Well, nobody wants to see you open for Taylor Swift, but as you know, we all want you to go on tour, even though we all know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen again. But
Yeah.
who knows? I mean, I told you that. Did you ever see a movie called Papillon?
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Steve McQueen's in it, and it's
Okay.
about a very famous prison in France, and it's in the middle of the ocean. It's like a big rock with cells in it, and he gets to that, and the whole thing is about how do you get out of there. And they have a little window. And at a certain time every day, all these prisoners stick their head out the window and look at each other. And it's like, hey, how do I look? The guy's eyes falling out and everything. Steve McQueen's going, hey, you look pretty good. Yeah, you're doing good. So, and then he gets like that, by the end of the film. And so, by the way, he gets off the rock. They don't know if he survived, but he does.
Spoiler alert, everybody. Kane
Yeah,
just gave
yeah.
it
But the point is, there's a certain point, because when I was a kid, I was very, very critical. Like, in other words, I thought, I did this little thing for Kip Winger. It was a Hall of Fame thing. He got the Lifetime Achievement Award at some heavy metal thing in Vegas. So he had me come out and talk. So the first thing I said was to the audience, I said, it's really great to see all these lovely faces here today. You all used to look so good. I mean, everybody's laughing. And then I said, when we're younger, we're angry young men and women. We're going up against the man. We're going to bring down the system. We're going to erase all the inequities with our music. And then when you're over 50, you're angry because your back hurts. And it was really funny because Billy Gibbons thought that was a riot. So anyway, so I do have that in me. I think there's a certain point. You don't have to get on stage, like you know what I mean. And I've kind of gotten there. I mean, I'm just like, you know what I mean. It's like it's one thing to see a younger band, delivering, and it's another thing to see like an older band deliver the same lyrics. And by the way, I'm not criticizing anybody that likes that. A lot of these bands are the soundtrack for their youth, and to see them up there and actually sing that melody, and it's just a beautiful thing. But for me, I
It's
don't
just
think.
it's
Yeah,
comfort.
I'd rather maybe watch, from a distance, that sort of thing. I don't know if that sounds awful.
No, I think we know that about you, though. I think you've been very consistent in that messaging, even when you
Yeah.
went on tour with Alice, about a year or so ago, that, it's still not your thing. You're not trying to put together a
No,
huge world
and
tour or
by the way,
anything.
the Alice Cooper band is perfect as it
Yeah.
is. You have these older guys, right? And they're all very talented. And of course, Alice, he's in the stratosphere somewhere. And then they got this beautiful blonde girl with long hair that shreds her ass off. And if I'm going to go to the show, don't take that part out. You know what I mean? Like that, keep that one in. You know what I mean? And so I always felt, as soon as I got it, I just, I remember I came back and Nita visited once, and I even told her, I said, this I can't wait for you to get back, that sort of a thing. Not because I didn't have fun. Hanging out with Alice and those guys, unbelievably patient and just extremely talented musicians, all the dudes, And then Alice and I became friends on the level that we were back in the day. Within a week, I was meeting them downstairs for breakfast at 6 a.m. You know what I mean? We're doing it, going out to dinner and movies. So that's the important part. The whole team, Ezrin, Shep Gordon, Alice, they're the reason why I'm even talking to you today. So,
Right, right.
it's actually, and something that people don't know is Shep got the kid with the gun guitar. He got the kid to come in. And so, think of what that started, because I did it. And now the other bands, the Kiss, people started doing it. And then, although I think Ace Frehley's guitar caught fire or something, and now you see Rammstein and even in that movie, the one of the more recent Road Warriors, that kid with the
Mhm.
guitar that was shooting flame and everything. So that really started with Alice. I mean, with Shep. He got the
Yep.
kid to come in. And thank God the kid was like a genius of guitar design, That was
Yeah. And this
lucky.
is
Yeah.
this is the kid who's made all of your guitars for you, or the guy who's made all of the
He made
guitars?
all those guitars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rick Johnson is his name. Rick Johnson.
Shout out
So
to Rick Johnson.
yeah,
So you mentioned the word camaraderie, and it sounded like you guys picked up right where you had left off the last time maybe you were on tour together.
sure, we could happen. Yeah,
Do you feel on this project, on Chokehold, that you were able to have a different sense of camaraderie with all of the artists that you're working with?
yeah, especially Anya. We you'll see as the songs come out. I've played a few extra ones for
Yes, I've
you,
been lucky enough.
and you can see how the writing and her, her personality and everything, they match up pretty good. I think they do, and she's kind of a badass. So she, as a female, she sings like she's not going to take. She wouldn't take any shit from anybody. Did you
Right.
get that? Or I don't know if
No,
you,
absolutely. No, absolutely. Her more so than any.
but not abrasive, not
Yeah.
insulting or abrasive. Yeah,
Someone who's really just taken hold of their power and
yeah,
knows they have it. Are each of you like main characters in this story? Or are some of these, because you had mentioned there are three that go together, but that you have at least two other songs that, are ready to go out the gate, and then you have
yeah.
almost a whole album's worth. Are each of you a character, or are some of these just part of that like little story, and
Yeah.
then some of these
Our
are not?
personas in the real world are not. We want people to know us just through the music and,
Mhm.
and through the visuals. That's how we want them to know us. I just think Anya's look is so intense that we'll see if we can get her to
Did you
be
get
in
video?
more videos, that sort of.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens, And
So each of you in the context of this world, if we see you in one of these videos that you
oh, you see me in a
yeah,
video.
if we see you
No,
guys, no?
I mean, you might,
I
maybe.
hope they do.
Yeah, no, I might do that. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think you should. I mean, we want to see you in your own videos. I do
Well,
anyway.
I've been taking a lot of drugs. No, no, okay.
No,
No,
you
no,
haven't.
I'm kidding.
No, you haven't. All right, so let's just ask the question. This music is as your music, I think, has become more and more like aggressive and heavy and like intense. Where's this coming from for you? Is this just a choice? Like I like listening to this stuff, so I want to like get heavier in my own playing?
You ever sit down, you're watching music. Let's
Mhm.
say over the last week you saw, 20 videos and stuff. and then something hits you really hard. You watch it and you go, okay, this is different. So that's all. That has been a domino effect since I started doing this project. This is
Mhm.
different, and this is really what I want to do right now. People say, "Oh, this is what I always wanted to do." Well, when I did Saints and Sinners, that's what I wanted to do. But I'm
Right.
saying at this stage, and it doesn't discount my history, my writing with Alice. There's some similarities still, but this has turned into a deeper thing. And I have to be honest with you. If you're not singing, and you find a voice, like you write a line, a bunch of words, and they look kind of crappy. You're looking at them, you're going, but that's the sentiment that I have.
Mhm.
Desmond Child, taught me you have to fashion words that the mouth can articulate, and different syllables. Like, for example, he said Mick Jagger wrote the lexicon for how to pronounce words. So, remember Joan Jett would go to May. Yeah, May. He said May is Mick Jagger,
Mhm.
get off of my class, that's all him, get down to me, that's all. And so I started, thinking that way in terms of how these singers were singing. I was trying to fashion. So what would happen is I write a really crappy line, and then she would just sing the fuck out of it. And what was it? The other thing Desmond said was you have to treat lyrics like script to a film, because the best singers are great actors, and
Mhm.
that's what you look for, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Were there any theme-wise, were you inspired by anything? Like you had mentioned comic books quite a few times in our
Yeah. Yeah.
conversations. Were you feeling like I want to create like almost like a comic book world and have those images jump off the pages?
Well, the thing is that the personalities in real life that I'm attracted to sexually, what is Alice? No, I'm kidding. No, then I'm attracted to in terms of what they do creatively is, for example, Alyssa. First time I saw her, knocked me out. Taylor Momsen, the band In This Moment, and in some ways, you know, people, everybody's always, it's always a controversy to talk about a guitar player, but Nita, same thing. I saw it, I said, yeah, it really kicks ass, and so those are the bands, Pantera will always stay with me, Falling in Reverse, Ronnie Radke is, insanely brilliant, creative person. So I started getting excited about that stuff and saying, this is a little different. And I just let it influence me. I never type that into anything to try to get that sound. It's bullshit, You just listen to them and you seek things out, and yeah. So those are the influences that I think are there in a big way. And of course, I can never run away from Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page, Eddie Van Halen. Those guys, they make up sort of the 60% of what I do. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So it's just being open to what you're excited about, and doing it. And you can see, I don't mean to bring it all the way back to the beginning, but you can see how that would bump into a record company. No, we want you to do this. We need a single. We need this. We need that. Yes. All right.
Right.
No, I'm going to do this. So.
Yeah. Do you have a timeline? Did you have a timeline for yourself when you started this project?
No,
Or did
no,
you
this
just let
this
it roll
took
out?
way too long, way longer than I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, this started, to be honest, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I started messing around with this. And
Mhm.
then right in January of 2024, things started to pick up in terms of the amount of hours. I mean, I really don't sleep. People that know me, I'll get tired maybe around 11 or 12, and then I get up at 3 and have breakfast. That's what I do. Um, so yeah, I've just been obsessed, and I love that. I always tell young musicians, obsession is a good thing,
Yeah.
because if you're not obsessed, then what else are you doing? You can find balance in your life when things slow down. But if you're high, or you're taking a break, and I'm saying it's not that you can't take a break, but there's somebody that isn't high, that isn't taking a break, that's in your same realm, that's just running past you. So you have to just feel I'm going to give this every inch of what I can give it. Boy, I've said this before, but there was a drummer in a band called the Jazz Messengers. His name was Art Blakey, and
Mhm.
I was at a seminar that he was at when I was at the conservatory, and they said, how are you successful in music? And he said, you have to have faith. You have to believe that if you work as hard as you can and you become great, the world will beat a path to your door. And that's what happened to me with Alice. I'm not saying I was great, but I weighed over 200 pounds. This big muscle guy playing guitar. The only band on the planet that would have been interested in me. You know what I mean? So you gotta have faith.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
You shared that before, and it's funny because when you say it, you laugh, but it's like, yeah, it kind of makes sense too. 'Cause if you think about what was popular
Yeah, yeah.
at the time,
And by the
especially.
way, since Alice and today, no one has ever asked me to join the band. It's
But
the
I find
funniest
that hard
fucking
to
thing. I
believe.
remember I told that to the guys that we were in the dressing room, and somebody said, "Hey, well, what other, any other bands, working?" I said, "No, I didn't get one phone call for like,
That's
20
amazing.
years. It's so fucking funny."
That's
Uh,
amazing. See, I would think you would get calls
Hey, by the way,
from
I didn't
everybody.
want the call. I don't know if they were looking at the phone. So.
That's really funny. So this is maybe a strange question to ask in the moment, but I have to ask it. Right now, this is what you're inspired by. You've got this passion, you've got this fire, and ever since you started this project. Do you imagine yourself at any point in the future wanting to scratch that itch of, oh, you know what, I want to call up a Desmond Child type of songwriter and
Yeah.
write something that's a little bit more I mean that man writes songs that like are just amazing. Like you just
Yeah. Oh,
hear
yeah.
them and
No, I know. Yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
just on a different level and he's had like hits every decade since he's been born.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah, yeah.
It is. It's kind of insane when you look at the list of songs he's written, but
And he's always excited about it.
yeah.
He's excited about sitting down and writing. He really is. Like to this day, it's pretty amazing.
Do you imagine yourself ever being in that place at this point in your life where you'd say, you know what, I'd like to call up Desmond and see what happens? Or do you feel like this kind of independent, it's not that you're not working with other artists, you are, but just sort of this independent, like, do what I'm going to do and the people who love it are going to love it. And, like, because
Yeah.
Desmond is something different, right?
I don't really, I don't really think that. I've had a couple of songs that I quote unquote finished. I almost did that Dr. Evil. I almost did it. No, but I finished. I thought I finished. I was going to send it to him to see what he, see if, But I thought to myself, these things. This is sort of, when you're 18 and you're writing,
Mhm.
who are you going to call? It's not so cool. No, but I mean, who can you call really? I've always been the type. I'll go anywhere and do
Yeah.
anything. It's like I used to go into nightclubs when I was 19 and just ask the band if I could sit in. I didn't know the fuck I was. You know what I mean? So the point of it is that you just have to stick with what's important to you at the time. So the sort of passion and energy and aggressive sort of pursuit seems to be the result of the influence of Desmond and Diane Warren and Steve Tyler and Eddie Van Halen, all these musicians, and Alice, what an incredible writer he is. So I learned so much from those people. I kind of like sitting in a point where like it's almost like I'm 18 again, and I'm just excited about this sort of groundswell, this blend of all the shit I know. So. And I don't know. People have to judge whether or not they hear it in the music. They'll see if they hear like a high standard for what I'm doing, because it's as high as anything I've ever done, and I mean a lot of drugs. No, I'm kidding. But the standard is very, very high for this, and I just am curious. And look, at people are going to have negative things to say or positive things to say. It's all good. I don't give a shit. Some I hear some things. Some guys like pretty clever. It's like insulting on YouTube or whatever. I'm not talking about this, but in the past, if it's
Yeah.
funny, I'll fucking laugh. I think it's like funny shit. So it just, you just gotta. As soon as you walk out of your apartment into the public, you don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. So
Yeah.
I just want to put as much stuff out as I can, before I croak. No, no, I'm kidding. I'm not thinking like that.
Do you have a plan? I mean, you've shared some things with us about your thoughts about how you're going to go forward, but do you have a plan for Chokehold, or are you really going by inspiration and just taking the temperature as you go along?
I would like to create a following of people that through the music, because you'll see as you hear more and more songs, it's going to cover a wide arc, not stylistically. The
Hmm.
songs will all have that same sort of impetus behind them, but I want to create, for people that like it, and for myself, a culture of the type of music that I'm just having a really great time making. So when I put out this video and then the next one, it's doing pretty good on X. Like I've concentrated more on that rather than YouTube. I don't really, the YouTube thing is, it's like banging your head against the wall a lot of times. So and I don't want to drop, like I said, like, thousands of dollars on it to get some sort of fake, kick in the ass. It's actually not fake. It's just that they don't open, like somebody puts a video and they get almost nothing. You know, in order for YouTube to function properly, if you
Hmm.
think the amount of information that gets loaded on top of the millions of songs a day, or at least posts or uploads a day, and like hundreds of thousands of songs. So how do you manage that? Well, I mentioned a pipeline before. You can't say, okay, it's completely open. Anybody that does anything, that's not the way it works. They have to, in order for the software to work, and not to get some sort of knock that goes down, like some redundant bunch of servers or whatever. It has to focus everything. So they see my thing come out. They can't open the spigot completely. They just can't. Just as a functionality. If you want to pay them, then they'll do what they have to do to a certain extent. It's the same thing with IG. They'll say, boost this now, and we'll give you more
Right.
than 300 people that saw your post. And I just I think the basic premise of those things started a lot cleaner. And I understand they have to make money. And I'm not anti, I like Instagram. It's kind of fun. TikTok. So I like it, and Facebook, but I don't want to look at it as a way for me to assess what kind of success these videos will have. So
You're trying to grow an organic, genuine community of people that really appreciate the music,
yeah, I mean,
the visuals.
if I know Tommy Hendrickson put out like a wonderful project, that Crossbone Scully thing. And the gestation of that music was organic. He really came up with a fantastic thing. And then if you mean organic in terms of how you attract people, and it's less sort of corporate, that sort of a thing. Yeah, definitely. He's it's a lot less than what he's doing in that regard. But his creative enterprise, that band, is all like comes from his heart and other musicians, and guys like Mutt Lang were even involved. It's a really fantastic project, and so yeah, I mean the views that I'm going to get, I'm going to use some companies to pump it a little bit, and this probably I think there's some show on MTV that wants to show it, so
Oh,
we'll see what
cool.
happens. Well,
Yeah.
that could be
Well, if it
good or
happens, that'll
not,
be
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens, and whatever happens. If it blows up in any way, then I'll get some spandex and a headband, and I'll get out there. And no, I'm
Well,
kidding.
I will help you with that. I know you already have a way of getting your hair
Yeah,
all
no,
shiny and
I'll get my
poofy.
hair curled up.
So, Kane, how important is it for you to for folks to experience Chokehold visually and with the audio together? I noticed that you haven't let us know when a single could be purchased or when an album's coming out. Is it really
Yeah,
about both of them together right now?
the song is going to end up on Spotify and Apple and all that stuff very shortly,
Okay.
and just watch for each song that comes out. If anybody ends up being a follower on one of these networks, or they get into it, just pay attention to it, and we'll see if we can sort of spread the word a little bit. Interviews like this are important because otherwise, it's going to reach people that otherwise wouldn't have heard of the project. So yeah, I got to do some interviews with some people that I think ask cogent, intelligent questions like you do it, for example. And it comes from a passion for the music.
Thank you so much.
Well, you're
Um,
only passionate about my music. Now that's
oh,
the great thing.
that's true. That's you're the only person that's been on 3 times, so
Yeah,
that's you can actually take that to the bank.
I would take that to the bank.
So Kane, I know that you've really just shared this with us, right? So, and I'm about to ask you something about years from now. Do you see Chokehold as being a project where you're going to revisit it and keep building on it, or is this like your baby that we're going to just experience the next year or two, and that's all
Oh
it's meant?
yeah, well, I'm going to put out, I would say, this year, maybe by next June, like 5 videos. So we'll see what happens as a result of that. It's the realities of what take place will influence, what my further commitment is, or whether it changes into something else, or, but right now, we're just in love with the music that's coming out. We just think it's really, and I think, I'm just going to make some noise.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So clearly this is your passion right now. This is your baby. What has been if you could pinpoint, what has been the most rewarding part of this process and this project?
Seeing my music and lyrics perform so well, and
Mhm.
then coming up with a video that I think really is pretty deep. I just think I wanted to do what you see on that screen. You can see that I wanted to do that. It starts with a girl watching a building getting bombed, and then you see this witch comes floating down. It's pretty crazy. And then you see your first. See, here's what you'll notice in the beginning. There's a vampire with wings, and she flies down and lands on a ledge. That's not easy to do. You know what I mean? You can hit on something by accident, but and then in the middle of the video, there she is again, same ledge, and she's very upset. And then at the end of the video, she turns around and flies away. Anybody that does AI goes, that's not like a, couple of shots at it. That takes, quite a while. So, um, with that kind of commitment, people would say, how patient are you with this stuff? You have to be very patient. So my point is that I'm very meticulous, very detail oriented. And right now, when I see the video come out and it matches the music like that, I just think both aspects of it are extremely important. But I would say the number one thing is how she's singing my lyrics.
Right.
Even and the guy as well, Gage, like he's killing it. So I haven't heard from him for a while, so he's I think he might be gone. But we still got a song. So you can listen, but you can see what it is. I remember Alice said when he hired me for the tour, he said we have an open door policy, and I said, well, that's totally what this is. You only do this if you feel like doing it and aren't planning on getting on some tour or something like that, because that's not what this is. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So, are we watching these videos and are we hearing the lyrics and watching the visuals and getting the story? Or is there going to be some point where you share a little bit more detail with us, like you did in this interview? You shared a little bit of like context that we may or may not have had.
Yeah, there's a company called Adrenaline that did a press release, and on that is the story written, fairly articulately, but it's the story about how these vampire women started. The video ends with kind of like an Uber version of them, like giant. So that's what is coming, and that's what this gang meets up with, these giant vampire women. So it's just like a crazy story that I just like. I like to see the story, evolve into something, maybe a movie or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm just curious. I don't know where it's going to go. I just know here's the thing: we have no choice but to be obsessed with something that we're doing. We don't know where it's going to go. There's no formula. And it's like what I was saying before, any musician, young musician who's trying to do stuff, learn as much as you can about all these, excuse me, these technologies. You remember when drum machines came out? Oh, fuck, that's going to ruin drumming and all that stuff. And then, you talk about putting something together, quote unquote, artificially. Look at these keyboards. I remember some of the first Roland keyboards had loops and they had all these different sound effects. And, they would say, and then some amps you buy, it'll say, here's the Bumblefoot setting. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying that it's not an alien thing that is taking place. It just depends on what you're comfortable with. So yeah. So I'm gonna make this into whatever it's going to end up being. I would love to see it become a movie. I'd like to see. At one point, somebody was telling me I should look for investors in that regard, and create a team that can make a some sort of a film out of this or whatever. So that's where I am right now. I'm just open to anything, and fortunately, I'm doing other things to
Yeah.
survive.
If
So
if that were to happen, would you be open to that process? Because I would imagine that's not entirely different than working with record label
yeah, yeah,
executives,
no, that's
right?
interesting. Yeah, well, there's all sorts of versions. The film industry is not as bad, and it's not good. It's brutal,
Yeah.
but it's not as bad as the music industry. The music, I don't know how many people you run into, but that say this, but I'll see some musicians, some guys I know, and I won't mention their names, and they'll say, "Oh, I just signed with so and so." Those fucking guys, they're going to take over. And it's just, I feel like saying, well, don't keep doing it. You know, you know what I mean? What are they going to give you? A couple of grand or something? It's like, don't keep doing it. And you don't need them. If you set up a different plan. My plan is to use programs like TuneCore and Spotify and Apple and do all this stuff and pump things up that way. And there's a few companies that actually do help in that regard. I'm going to do it that way because I don't need some company signing it and their marketing budget is $1,000. I ran into that. It's like, I'm not going to fucking do that. Are you kidding me? What is that? What are you going to do? Send an email to a melodic rock site? That's their whole marketing plan. So, and by the way, I don't mean to disparage on this. There was a guy named Bruce Mee. He had a company Now and Then, his partner. They were great guys, and really, truly just cared about the music. It was one of those things. They had a business model, but so it's not everybody, but and that record company I think died. But the point is that I'm just trying to put a creative stuff out there, and
Yeah.
whoever hears it, happy. You know.
Would you be interested in writing that script if it became a film or a TV series, or would you want to just take a step back and be more of a consulting producer and make sure that your vision stays, what
It's tough to. Let me see if I can tell the story without saying anybody. There's a guy I know who wrote a very famous movie for a very famous star, and all excited. He's going to do your movie.
Mhm,
And he gets a phone call from the star.
mhm.
And he says, everything's cool and everything. And he said, I just want 50% writing. And he said,
Credit
he said,
credit or
what?
to actually do the writing?
Yeah, in order to do the film, you got to
Mhm.
give me 50% writing. And he said, no. And the guy eventually did the film.
Mhm.
But see, that's what you run into, all the time. So you got to kind of hold your nuts and just, be strong about what you're doing. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
hold
yeah,
whatever you got.
yeah. I guess what I'm trying to get at is, do you see yourself as a screenwriter? Do you see yourself as a
I've
novel?
written scripts. I actually wrote a script with this guy Larry Gross, who was my mentor. He didn't write it with me, but he wrote 48 Hours, and Prozac Nation. That movie with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. He was kind of born to write scripts.
Yeah.
And so I've written a few. I've written three or four,
Okay.
and one of them got picked up by Warner Brothers China, but the business deal fell through for some reason. So, but yeah, it's a stretch with film for you to think you can determine what your creative input is, what your positioning. The first time you get a film made on a script, they give you 100 grand, get out of here. You know what I mean? And so and then hopefully after that, there's geez, if I mention that, yeah, I can't mention the name of it. There's a very famous film that came out, and I can say Tom Cruise was in it, but it's not. He didn't do anything, and the guy had the script, and it was like he's making it with this famous director. He's all excited. I know this guy. He starts driving up, and he said this guy's place is a mansion. This director. It's like a castle. And he gets a phone call. He said, "Hey, you don't have to come up." And he said, "Why?" And he said, "Geez, I can't say these two names." But he said, "So and so just bought the film. They just took it." And he said, "They took it from you?" And he went, "Yeah, you can't fight these guys." They brought in another script writer
Okay.
to write another part to the film. So what that did to him was he's not the sole writer.
Right.
And if you're not the sole writer of a script and there's a star involved, star script writer, that didn't help. He never did anything again.
Yeah.
And his whole thing got sideswiped that way. So they're both very tough industries. It's just the point is that right from the get-go, the whole music thing is just we're gonna fucking rip you the fuck off. Get ready. Get ready. Get a lawyer for 3 months, and he knows how this goes. He knows the end result. As soon as you give him the gig, he knows how it's going to end. And they'll charge you like 20 grand, whatever. I'm just telling you, it's a fucked up system. You don't need to play. I'm not going to play anymore.
Yeah. That's good. Hey, you don't have to. You've got all the skills to do
Dude,
it.
that's like the other thing. It's like uh, some guys that I feel bad. They got to play live.
Hmm.
And I don't know how happy they are to do it because the market itself, the whole heavy metal market is in to some degree death throes, and to me that's a crime. In Europe it's not. Europe,
Yeah.
metal is killing, and so you got all that stuff to run into as well. But none of the stuff I'm going to do is going to be politically correct or it's just not going to follow any of that sort of bullshit. Not as a political statement, just the freedom of creating. That's all it is. And if somebody doesn't want to see it, shut it off.
Yeah. Do you see this as a multimedia project, Chokehold? Is that a multimedia project or is it still a
Yeah,
band?
we're not going to do other people's videos. We've been requested to do some. I'm
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm not into it right now.
Okay.
But what I want is for people to see it, people that haven't seen it to take a look at it.
Yeah.
And see what the response is. So far, it's very good. It's limited because I haven't really done much to promote it. So I'm going to do something next week. A couple of different events. So we'll see what happens.
Cool.
When I say events, I mean I'm not going to show up at like a Starbucks or something and dance. I'm not doing this shit.
Have you thought about uh, like those science fiction events, that people go to? A lot of the metal guys do go to those.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's just I'd have to buy a booth.
Yeah.
And then, what am I going to do, standing there? So, yeah, we'll wait and see. Like, if it gains some sort of momentum in some way,
Yeah.
I'll be fully gratified. We'll see if anything leads anywhere. But I'm not, like I said, since I'm out of the system, I don't, this is kind of new territory a little bit. So we'll see what happens.
Right. And then are we ever gonna have the opportunity to buy a physical CD, like a full album of this music?
No, I don't.
Oh,
Maybe a vinyl would be the
okay.
only thing because I could see one of those vampire girls is an amazing cover to an album. But we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Okay. So give us the timeline. What can we expect the next few months, over the next year, over the next couple of years from
Yeah,
Chokehold?
I would say uh 2 months there'll be a new video. maybe 3 months after that. In other words, 2025, between now and June of next year, I'm going to try to have 5 videos out.
All right.
Yeah, and we'll see. Some of them will be part of this story. The story might fizzle out, but some of them won't. There'll be a different, And the other thing I'm doing is lyric videos, because the visuals on this is so distracting. It's almost, it takes a little effort to sort of single out what Anja's singing, and you'll notice that, when I'll send you one of those, you'll see like it really accents her voice, because you're looking at the words, as opposed to the craziness. So
So we're gonna get 5 of them between now and summer that are videos that have the storytelling, and then we'll get lyric videos for all the other songs, or
Uh,
most of them.
well, I'm going to do lyric videos for all the videos, all the
Okay,
5, and
for the
then we'll
5.
see what happens with the rest of the
Okay.
material. The other thing too is the rest of the material is still changing. That when I say 5, there's 5 that we're pretty much, this is it. We're happy with what we have, and the other ones, there'll be some great parts in it, but as every songwriter knows. See, one of the things, I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm not using any tremolo bar, not doing any guitar solos on this stuff.
Right.
And it's because, I hear a lot of songs and I'm getting moved by it. And then somebody says, like, okay, I'm going to be Buddy Rich for 20 seconds. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't get it. If a guitar part's really going to add to it, and it's really going to sort of sing with the singer somehow and move, the dynamic forward, then yeah, it makes sense. If not, you don't really have to have a guitar solo, you know?
Yeah.
So I love playing them and listening to them, but
So you have your own socials and all of that, websites for Kane Roberts, but you
and for
also have
Chokehold.
for Chokehold. So
Yeah.
everybody needs to make sure they find Chokehold as well as you.
Yeah.
Give them a
There's a
follow.
website, chokehold, official.com. So if they can go to that, and you'll see all the links to, Rumble, BitChute, X, YouTube, all that stuff, Facebook. There's a new one out called Ass Book, which is, I think it was going to be, no, I'm kidding. No, but that's kind of what we
Okay.
were doing.
And I'll put
Sorry
that
about that.
below.
You can get rid of that. What's that?
I said I'll put where to find Chokehold so that they can find all of your
Oh
socials.
yeah. I'll send you that. I'll send you. It's okay
Yeah,
if I send you that stuff, and you.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so everybody at home, make sure you check out Don't Wanna Rockstar. Make sure you check out all the videos as they drop and the lyric videos when we get those as well. And I will put everything below for Chokehold so you can make sure that you're following Kane there as well. Kane,
Yeah.
thank you so much as always for being here and sharing your process and your thoughts and your
Hey, it's always a joy to talk with you, and I'll tell people about the interview. So yeah.
definitely, definitely. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of MetalNet TV Conversations, Conversation with Kane Roberts. Please make sure that you're subscribed to MetalNet TV. Make sure you leave a thumbs up for this video and leave a nice comment for me and for Kane. I'll be seeing you again next week with another new episode.